Ta-da! Hello, everybody. This is Jarrod Albrecht, the yard sale artist, and I am popping in for another random pop-up of opening random trading cards from days gone by. I hope that everybody is having a great day. So, as usual, if you've been to one of these before, you know the deal. If not, well, then welcome. I ordered a whole bunch of random trading cards from days gone by off of a guy on eBay. I have this one, and I have another full pack over here that I haven't opened yet. And on each of these episodes, I grab 2 packs out of here, and we see what we can find. We talk about trading cards of days gone by. So come by, say hello in the chat, and let's just get into it, I suppose. Let's find out what trading cards. I don't know what's coming out of this bag because I still have not looked in it. You know what? Before I open it, I can show you real quick. I'll use Packet Cam here. Let me get Packet Cam turned on. Welcome to the show, Packet Cam. On previous episodes, we found these Maverick trading cards. Those were pretty cool. Packet Cam, don't freeze up on me, Packet Cam. We did some Indiana Jones Chronicles trading cards. That was fun. And what else did we get? I remember we had a Disney day where we got 2 Disneys in a row. Yep, it was Pocahontas and Hunchback cards. And then on the last episode, we looked at Hyborian Gates, which we discovered was like a Magic the Gathering type. What's up, Heinz, in the chat? Always stops by to say hello. That's always appreciated. Thank you for stopping by, Heinz. And we got X-Files cards last time as well. So let's find out what we're going to get in the bag this time. All right, first one is out. And it is Plasm cards. Plasm cards. It's got a cool package. Cellophane packaging. Let's see if we can figure out when these are from. These are from 1993. 1993 Plasm cards from Defiant. I think that's the Defiant Comics, folks. 0 issue trading cards from Defiant. Plasm. Beyond the Imaginary Limits. All right, so anybody remembers anything about Plasm cards, we'll get Packet Cam. I need you to not freeze up on me today. I don't know what Packet Cam's problem is, but we'll get them squared away. All right, now everybody who watches the show knows I'm terrible at opening cards. Okay, I suck at it. Not my thing. Yeah, we're getting all right. We're doing okay today. All right, so let's see what these Plasm cards from 1993 have in store for us. Okay, set that aside. Boy, that is fighting me every step of Plasm cards. Seriously. There we go. All right. So there's our first card. That is our first card. Whether you like it or not, the nature of life is to become one. One system, one org, our org. Ooh, that's scary stuff. And these are like just straight up panels on comics. This is kind of interesting. I've never delved into these before. So this says, you seem to be troubled. Lustmate? I guess she has a lust mate. Need to get me one of those. He said, no, it's nothing. So these look just like panels, perhaps from the comics of maybe Plasm from Defiant. Your guess is as good as mine. Help me out, folks, if you know anything about this. All right. So let's see. The next card is Lord Thraxilic. Well, yeah, that's Lord Thraxilic. Sure. And here's what the backs look like. They have sort of the height stats. Lord Thraxilic, Gore Lord of the Org of Plasm, 5'5", 130 pounds in Earth's gravity. That's an important point. Genetically enhanced, intelligent, battle-wise, a respected commander and strategist. So that is Lord Thraxilic. I had Thraxilic once, but I took penicillin and it cleaned right up. All right, let's see what the next card is going to be. Ooh, what do we have here? We have they really like hard to pronounce words in this universe. Abduratchet. Sure. Let's find out more about Abduratchet. It's got pronunciation on the back too, and it looks like that was pretty good. Abduratchet, 5'6", 152 pounds, genetically engineered super plasmoid capabilities, enhanced eyesight, 10 times the normal ability in the left eye. You want to have a strong left eye. If anybody knows that, the group TLC knows that. Let me know if any of these 90s jokes are landing for any people out there. Non-skid fingertips, steady, unflappable, inventive, and problem solving. You know, the backs of these cards remind me of like the Transformers, the tech specs, and the old Transformers toys that you used to get. So that's Abduratchet. Why not? Next card up. It looks like another one of the straight up comic book panel cards. There is no Legion on the Dregs list, nor on the grad list. If that means anything to anyone, I don't know. Yes. You two make quite a lust match, Lork, and I happen to know she'll juice you. I say wallow in it. This is getting spicy. All right. More sort of random panel cards. Oh, I forgot to do the thing where I keep my favorite card so far on top. I guess Lord Thoraxilic. Let me see the pronunciation on the back. Thoraxilic. Yeah, I was right. Is still my favorite card. I like how I specifically aimed this to not get glare on the card, and I still got glare. All right, someday I'll figure that out. Sorry about that glare. One day I'll figure it out, just not today. All right, we got more of those sort of comic book panel cards, which are weird. The Coronation Dome in the Great Palace of the Imp 2 seasons later. And what do you mean, sir? Now, I suspect if you get enough of these cards, you can start putting the story together. It's kind of clever. I think what they're just getting more mileage out of the comics that they made, right? They're just taking the comics they made and they're making the panels into card size, so you can essentially put a comic, maybe the entire comic, I don't know, together just based on these cards. Like here's another one. You know, so I mean, usually I read you guys the cards, but that's essentially at this point I'm just going to be reading you an entire comic book. So that seems a little silly, but you can see for yourself. What's weird? I was about to say what's weird is I don't see any numbering, but it's very subtle. Like this is card 15. Let's see. What was Thoraxilic? What card number was Thoraxilic? I don't. Oh, 124. Okay, it's up there in the top corner. So on the comic ones, it's done really, really, really subtly. Like I don't see the card number. Oh, there it is. This is card 50. All right. I'm catching on. Catching on to the plasm cards. Okay. Let's see what's next. Another comic panel card. Very concerned about what Seeker. Let's say Seeker Lorca, not Seeker Lorca. And more comic panel. There you have it. Two more cards. This one's also comic panel. This is card 65. So yeah, essentially it looks like you can build the story via trading card. And I got to say that's at least somewhat clever. I've never seen it before. Being able to build the entire, comic book issue maybe out of cards. And that's got to be unique. So those are plasm cards from Defiant Comics. From Defiant Comics 1993. There's your packaging. And there's your cards. So really a combination of trading cards. I mean, I think the coolest ones really are the character cards, which would be this one and this one. Now, I might change my tune on that if I had a whole bunch of them. I could actually make, lay these out and make the comic panels and tell the story. That's interesting and inventive. I will give them that. Plasm cards. 1993. Interesting. Slide those back into packaging. While I'm doing that, I'm going to put up our banner for our Crusaders Club. And that is basically our Patreon that you can join for as little as $1 a month. And there's early release videos there. Most importantly, the thing that people intend to like the most is two things. They like they get priority seating to be on our podcast. So you get to be a guest on our shows, which is fun for everybody. And they get entered for free raffle giveaways when we do a lot of our Doing It live streams. We have a Doing It live stream on Sunday. As usual, it's usually the second Sunday of every month. One notable exception is usually Mother's Day is the second Sunday of the month. So we bump that one an extra week. But it's usually the second Sunday of the month at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. And we give away stuff. And one of these days, I'm going to be giving away all these packets of cards that we opened here on the show. So if that's something you'd like to get entered for and just be part of a really fun community, we can do that at $1 a month over at Patreon. All right, second pack of cards this is a wax pack and not a foil pack. Oh, Desert Storm cards. Near and dear to my heart, I collected Desert Storm cards as a kid in middle school in the time of Desert Storm. I noticed this is 3rd edition, homecoming edition. So this is the war has wrapped up. I laugh because my father served in that war, and then I myself served in Iraqi freedom, several years later. So, that kind of an ongoing thing, but I don't want to depress you guys. These are neat. These are by Topps. I distinctly remember, like I said, my brother and I collecting these cards, the first Series 1 Desert Storm cards back in, I guess it would have been 90, 91. Yeah, these are 91. And what was fun about these is if this is a very, similarly packaged to Series 1, there's a lot of cards, just for like the M1 Abrams tank and the F-16 Fighting Falcon. And my brother and I used to take these to the military shows, the air shows and stuff like that. And we'd get the actual pilots or drivers of the vehicles who are, you go to the air show and whatever, and the pilots and so forth are standing next to it to sign them. So we have all these autographed Desert Storm cards, autographed by guys and gals who use the equipment. And that was a lot of fun. That was something fun to do as a kid. All right. So I immediately am in love with this pack. All right. Because here we have the very first card out of the pack is the AH-1 Cobra. And this is near and dear to my heart. This is the aircraft that my father flew for almost his entire Army career. This is what he flew in Desert Storm to this day. This is my favorite military aircraft. And so I'm very, very excited to pull an AH-1 Cobra card right off the bat. That is awesome. It's as you can see, it's a very silhouette, sort of sun going down photograph. It's very, very cool. I'm a big fan of this aircraft. And here's what the backs look like. This is card number 197. And again, it has some information about the AH-1 Cobra, which I love. I am all in on this card. What was the card number on this one again? 197. I doubt that there's anything in this pack of cards that's going to make me happier than that AH-1 Cobra card. And it was right off the top, too. But you know what? Let's see. Got a good question in the chat from Heinz, and Heinz says, is that like the Dragonfly? And he's talking about G.I. Joe. And yes, Heinz, you are absolutely correct. The Dragonfly, the G.I. Joe helicopter flown by Wild Bill, was absolutely modeled after the AH-1 Cobra. This, just to show my nerdiness, I think that is a Sierra model Cobra. Your older Vietnam ones are usually Gulf models. Your Desert Storm ones are usually Sierra models. And then the Marines get the Whiskey model, which is extra cool because it has 2 engines. It's a twin engine aircraft instead of one. They fly what's called the Super Cobra. And I am really revealing my Army aircraft nerdery right now. Okay, so if those of you who don't know, by the way, my high school job was at the Army Aviation Museum on Fort Rucker, now known as Fort Novacell. So, yeah, I'm into it. And yes, Heinz, you're absolutely right. That is the Dragonfly from G.I. Joe, a vehicle that I never owned as a kid and still bothers me to this day, which is why I absolutely backed it on the latest Hasbro HasLabs thing. I'm going to get that big old Dragonfly. Not know where to put it, but I'm going to finally own one. Anyway, back to the cards. Thank you for the good question, Heinz. All right, next up is John Major. Gets his own card 182. And I believe he was the Prime Minister of Great Britain at the time. Yep. At age 47, the youngest person to hold the position since 1894. I didn't know that. These cards are so cool. Is like you can learn little fun trivia, interesting tidbit facts about these, leaders and figures of the time. So there's John Major on his card. I'm sticking, of course, with the AH1 Cobra for favorite card of the pack. Next up, we have an M110 howitzer. Oh, that's cool. I don't know as much about ground vehicles, except that I like them. M110 self-propelled howitzer is a mobile gun sporting a 203 millimeter, which is an 8-inch cannon that can hurl a rocket-assisted projectile 32,800 yards. So in this instance, it's very much like Cam Newton. I know these timely sports jokes are great. All right. Anyway, there is your M110 howitzer. I can't tell you how excited. This brings back memories because I haven't opened a pack of cards yet on the show. This is episode 4, and I do 2 packs an episode. So we've opened 8 packs of cards that I was not familiar with, except for the Pocahontas cards, because my wife collects those, and I think we still have a full collection in the house somewhere. But this is a card set that I actually personally collected, and so it's just really cool to see these. Now don't let me bury my AH1 Cobra. Now it gets to stay on top. Now this one will get, the next card is going to give Cobra a run for its money. It's not going to win, but especially in 1990, this was super cool. This is the F-117A Stealth Fighter. This really kind of had its coming out party in Desert Storm. For those of us who are old enough to remember, this was like highly classified, and it got much more in the public eye in Desert Storm. A good rule of thumb, and I'm talking to you as an Air Force guy with years of Air Force experience, and I'm not telling any secrets or anything like that, but I think a good rule of thumb is by the time an aircraft exists like the F-117 Stealth Fighter, it's probably been flying around for about a decade. Okay, so there's usually something, once they let you know about this one, the next cooler thing that's going to replace it in the future is probably already flying. That's just Jarrod's rule of thumb. So there's your F-117 Stealth Fighter, which was also a fun game on the NES that I played. The F-117A Stealth Fighter designed almost exclusively to elude detection by enemy radar. And the weird thing about the Stealth Fighter, and again, I'm going to show my nerdery here, is it's an F class, right? You've heard of the F-117, the F-16, the F-14, the F-4. The F is a designator for fighter. And then there's aircraft like the A-10, which the A is a designator for attack. And if you don't know the difference, a fighter is designed for air-to-air combat, planes fighting planes. An attack is for air to ground. It's for troop support. It's for planes, fighting tanks and personnel and things like that on the ground. And I always thought it was weird that they call this the F-117A Stealth Fighter as if it's air to air. And it really, as far as I know, doesn't really get into a lot of air to air battles. It's much more of a clandestine bomber. So I always felt like it should have had an A designator, not an F designator. But hey, I wasn't the guy making the decisions. I'm really showing my nerdery around these things today. But I like that F-117 card. Again, very silhouetted like the Cobra card. So it's got a real artistic look to it. But I'm sticking with the Cobra card as my favorite. Now, strangely enough, I just mentioned the A-10 Warthog. And this is interesting to me because this says F4G Wild Weasel. And while I ponder on that, I want to welcome my buddy Doc Strange to the chat. Hi, thanks for checking in, Doc. Good to see you. We are getting a serious lesson in Jarrod's nerdery of this trading cards that I actually collected back in the 90s, early 90s. And I'm nerding out about all these different aircraft because that's part of what I do. So this is something I'm unfamiliar with, though. It says F4G Wild Weasel. Now, these are clearly, to me, A-10s, which is a ground support attack aircraft. My very first duty assignment was at Pope Air Force Base, North Carolina, and we had an A-10 unit there. So it was very cool. To me, this is one of my very, very, very favorite jets. In fact, this is my very favorite helicopter. This is my very favorite jet. And before you ask, Heinz, and you can still ask in the chat. Heinz asked earlier, is this the Dragonfly? I said, pretty much, yeah. Your G.I. Joe relation here is this is the Cobra Rattler. Oh, I want to say hi to Jim, who knows a few things about G.I. Joe as well. He's known as Jim the Joe Junkie here on the network. And so he will know this aircraft as the Cobra Rattler. Now, as I was saying, this is fascinating because I am unfamiliar with the F4G Wild Weasel, because to me, an F4 is I think this is a misprint, because an F4 is the F4 Phantom, and it did have a Wild Weasel mission, which, again, showing my nerdery, the Wild Weasel mission is basically anti-aircraft. Like, its whole job is to go find anti-aircraft missiles, anti-aircraft guns, any kind of radar jamming thing, anything that would make life hard on the other planes that's on the ground. The Wild Weasel mission goes, finds, seeks, and destroys. I think this is a misprint, because those are not F4 Phantoms. Yeah, it's a misprint. Those are A-10s on the misprint card for the F4. I am just exposing ridiculous levels of aircraft nerdery at this point, but that's what we have going on here. So the picture is my very favorite jet, the A-10. These are not F4 Phantoms misprinted. Cobra card still going to be my favorite. I don't see anything topping it today. All right, next up. Oh, we got a ground vehicle. We've got the M60 tank. The M60 tank is the main battle tank used by the Marine Corps. Features chemical, biological, and nuclear protection for the 4-man crew and night vision gear to allow combat in low-light situations. This is a getting it done tank right here, man. The United States Marine Corps rolls up with a few of these, you know you are about to have a bad day. I honestly didn't know that they were nuclear, biological, and chemical protected. Like that basically means they can seal up. They probably have their own air supply that they can cycle. I'm guessing. I don't know a lot about ground vehicles. I know a little bit about them. I didn't know that it had those capabilities. If the card is correct, I mean, this earlier card did think these were F4s, and it was not correct. But I like to think that that one probably is. So we're sticking with the Cobra card on top. Next up is the M198 howitzer. That is just a field cannon that can launch some ordnance quite a distance. I wonder if they'll tell us on the back. For card 209, the M198 howitzer is a towed gun. So again, there are some towed weapons in G.I. Joe. And Jim, if he's still in the chat, will remind me of which one this is most like. The towed artillery cannon for G.I. Joe. Now, I know they had the towed, wasn't it a big laser that they towed around? I'm trying to remember if they had an actual projectile cannon. Anyway, if anyone's going to know, it's going to be Jim in the chat, or perhaps Heinz. I'm not sure. Just foggy G.I. Joe memory there. But anyway, the M198, let's see if we can get a range on it. Now they're talking my language. It can be airlifted using a CH-47 or CH-53 helicopter. It can be towed by a 5-ton truck, which I have driven before. It doesn't talk about its range on the back of the card, so I'm not sure. Something we could clearly look up. But the M198 howitzer, very cool. Again, it was so much fun as a kid. My brother and I would go to the air shows and the Army shows, and we lived at Fort Bragg at the time, which is an Army base connected to an Air Force base, which is Pope Air Force Base. So when they do a show, you get it all. You get all the Army vehicles, you get all the Air Force vehicles and stuff out there. It was a big show, and it was really awesome. And my brother and I would take these out, and we'd get actual pilots and drivers to sign these cards for us. And it was really fun. It was a ton of fun. We even teased my dad, who flew this during the war. We kept saying, I wonder if we can find some Cobra pilot to sign our card for us. And my dad was being very quiet, thinking the whole time, I can sign your card. But we knew we were going to get Dad to sign it. We just wanted to mess with him. Okay. Didn't expect to get a little emotional over a card today. I've been both the people in this card. I think that's all I have to say about that. All right. Looks like each one comes with, is this a sticker? Yes, it is a sticker because it says peel carefully. Here we have an award, and I'm going to tell you, this is I'm not great with awards. I've won a few, or we don't like the term won. I've earned a few is probably the better term. Let's see, what is this? If I had to guess, I'm not great at memorizing the word. I think this is a silver star. That is my bet. There's type at the bottom. I have my glasses on. Sorry, I got to get real close. Silver star. It is a silver star. I win. So apparently they did a sticker set of the medals. And then this on the back tells me it's a puzzle card. It's like a completely black square. So I don't know if the whole picture makes a completely black square, but yeah. Okay, I did get some feedback from some friends in the chat on the I was asking what the most G.I. Joe adjacent and hindsight looks like the Howl laser, which I was thinking that toe up behind laser. I couldn't remember if they had an actual projectile cannon, that shoots actual, rounds. And let's see what Jim had to say. There was a Howl, which was the laser, and then there was the flak, which is closest to Howl. Yeah, the flak one, I do remember the flak cannon now that you mentioned it. And yeah, these are all early Joe, and that's what Heinz is saying. Like, I know the Howl was 82. I feel like the flak was early in the run as well. So thank you guys in the chat for helping out with that one. Sometimes my old G.I. Joe memory gets a little foggy. All right, so I thought the whole time my favorite card would be the AH1 Cobra, and I can stand by that, although clearly that card right there has the most meaning for me. I thought this would be the one that would have the most meaning for me, but it was that one. But this is still going to be my favorite card right there. That's what my dad flew. I'm just now noticing that it almost looks like a pyramid in the background. I wonder what that is. Oh, I do spot a CH-47 flying off in the background though as well. So there you have it. What a fun and interesting trip. Oh, I bumped into Packet Cam. Everybody's going to get seasick. What a fun, interesting trip down memory lane. This is, again, of all these episodes I've done, this is the first time I've opened a pack of something that I personally actively purchased and bought at the time, which was 1990, I think we determined this was. Checking the packet once again. Yeah, 91. 91 on the, this is the third series. The 91's, I wonder if first series came out in 90, if they were all 91. I'm not sure. My memory is a bit hazy. Oh, I see someone dropped a like on today's video. I really appreciate that. And I've left that banner on the bottom way too long. We'd really appreciate a like and a subscribe here, of course. If you haven't subscribed to Longbox, it costs you nothing. And, we do these random pop-up videos, but more importantly, we do our Doing It live streams on the second Sunday of almost every month. We've got one coming up this Sunday where Delvin is hosting it, the Dark Web himself. And we are going to talk about Deceased, War of the Undead Gods, number 6. It's going to end up being the most recent comic we've ever discussed. Usually our show is more of a time capsule show, but Delvin decided to bring a comic from just last year So we're going to discuss that and how we feel about it on the episode on Sunday. So please join us on Sunday at 3:30 Central Time, and we will chat about that. So this has been fun. I want to thank the guys who showed up in the chat today, especially Heinz, Doc Strange, and Jim. Thank you so much for showing up and asking good questions. Heinz, those are the cool G.I. Joe questions, of course. And of course, G.I. Joe answers that sometimes I need a little help with because of my foggy memory. But thanks to Heinz and of course, Jim for that. You guys are awesome. That is about it for me. If you want to chat with me online, I can be found. Look, I almost got the finger right at the first time. I can be found at Yard Sale Artist. Says so right there on pretty much any of your social medias, X and Facebook and Instagram. Stop by, say hello, give me a follow, let's chat. But more importantly, make sure you're following Longbox Crusade. It's also on X, Facebook, Instagram, of course, YouTube. Subscribe to us, please, on YouTube. We love having you guys in the chat and checking it out. And we'd love to hear from you on our other social medias. I think that's all the plugging I have to do. Thanks for joining me for this one. I will see you guys on a future pop-up. I still have plenty of cards left, and that's just in one bag. The second bag hasn't even been opened yet. So let's see what we get. Thanks again, guys. I'm going to act froze, and I'll catch you next time.